guys, this is Juno. Welcome back to my channel, Given to Give Ministries. Today I thought that maybe it would be best to talk about something that I had been reflecting on Wednesday, and this had to do with dress. I had gone for some work, and at the end of the day I started wondering if I had represented Christ, if people had seen Christ in me, in the way I carried myself, in the way I talked, the way I spoke, the way I just did my business, even though it was not really something to do with the gospel per se. And I felt like I did not somehow, and it made me think of the issue of dress. So for those of you that know the song Not I But Christ, in every word and action, not I but Christ, to be seen, to be heard, not I but Christ. And I started wondering if in the way I was dressing, in the way I was speaking, in the way I carried myself, was it Christ in me, or it was more of me and less of Christ? And it just made me reflect on some principles of dress which I wanted to share with you, and there are some texts which I wanted to put up.
In like manner also, that women adorn themselves with proper clothing modestly and discreetly, not with braided hair and gold or pearls or costly garments. The woman shall not wear that which pertains to a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garments, for all that do so are an abomination to the Lord.
Okay, so one of the things that I learned when I was doing this training was that dress, the way somebody dresses, is basically the index of the heart, of the character. It just basically shows the character of a person. And I started thinking as to how true this is. I know most people usually say, don't judge me by how I look and how I dress and whatnot. What matters is in the heart and whatnot. But, you know, in so many situations, especially us women, there are so many ways in which we play a big role regarding our fellow brethren and their salvation. You know, the verse that talks about Jesus saying that adultery isn't just about the actual act, but even if you feel it, even if you think about it, you have already committed the act. In most situations, you'll see that most of the crimes that are being committed these days, the crimes that have been committed, the sins that the mighty men in the Bible fell to, it was because of women. For example, David, when he saw Bathsheba bathing, and we see King Solomon, he was taken away with his women, and we see Samson, he was also caught up with this whole web of Delilah and her deceitfulness. So women, we have this power with us that we do not realize, and I think it is something that we should also try and reflect on, to think about. You know, I'll read to you something. I got this book with me. I really love this book. It's the one I got, and it's basically talking about how even as Christians, sometimes we feel the need to conform to how everybody else is dressing as an attempt to reach them, or to understand them, or to have them understand us, or to feel that we have a common ground. But the Word of God says that that act of compromise, actually, we lose the power of the Spirit in our ministry. And I remember when I got here, back home I used to jog and exercise in leggings, and I would put on a skirt on top. And when I got here, the thought of going to a gym and people seeing me with a skirt on top of my leggings, I was like, I cannot do that. I was feeling so embarrassed, and I ended up ditching my skirt, and I would go to the gym in my just my leggings and the long top. And after a while, God started convicting me through His Word and through sermons I would watch, and I could feel Him just rebuke me that I was not doing what He taught me to do. And funny thing is, as I was trying to debate with myself that it's not a big deal, I stumbled across this presentation. It's by a fellow YouTuber. She's also a fellow Adventist, and she was speaking of the same issue of modesty and dress, and how the spirit of prophecy speaks on how women who adopt a certain type of dressing, they should not or cannot really be involved in the work of spreading the three angels' message. And I'll put the quote.
Those who feel called out to join the movement in favor of women's rights and the so-called dress reform might as well savor all connection with the third angel's message. The spirit which attends the one cannot be in harmony with the other. Let them adopt this custom and their influence is dead.
And the idea of actually not being able, or knowing that even if I in my own strength and power decided to go out and share the three angels message, which actually also constitutes of dress reform, health reform, and the Sabbath reform, that even if I was to decide, okay, I am going to do this, that God's Spirit would not be with me because I was knowingly doing what I should not be doing. It really was a wake-up call for me, because I was like, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. And to have dress disqualify me for God's work. So I prayed about it, and I asked for God's strength to help me to do what I knew He taught me to do. And I went back to the principles to which I was taught regarding dress. And just because God has called us to be modest doesn't mean that our dressing doesn't have to be attractive, in the sense that it doesn't have to be beautiful. If you think about it, God is the creator of all things beautiful, the trees, the flowers. And the verse even says that Solomon in all his splendor was not as beautifully dressed as the flowers. And that should tell us something as to how God wants us to look beautiful. But what the world considers beautiful and what God considers beautiful is two totally different things. And it also made me think of modern times now, like relationships. We all want to be attracted to the opposite sex. We all want to be termed beautiful, but most times we want to be called sexy, I guess. And it made me reflect on the women in the Bible, and I started thinking of Sarah, I started thinking of Rebecca. All these women were beautiful, that to the point whereby their husbands asked them to lie when people would ask them, just to preserve their lives, that they were not married. And when I went to the story of Rebecca, I'll put the text. But in the story of Rebecca, before she met Isaac, she was with Isaac's servants and I guess her maidens. They were traveling, or they were almost approaching Isaac's home. And Isaac at that time was in the fields. And when she saw him a distance away from her, she asked the servant, "Who is this person and that is coming towards us?" And the servant said, "That is my master, Isaac." And immediately she got off, she dismounted from what she was riding, and she put a veil across her face. She basically covered herself. And I was like, wow. Because Rebecca was beautiful. The servants, when they saw her, they were impressed by her beauty, her mannerisms, just how she carried herself. And for her to not feel the need to display herself, even to this man who was about to be her husband, instead she covered herself. It made me think, this is what we need to be doing. For the most part, you go on dates, and I speak of things that I have also done. I cannot speak of something that I have not experienced. It's usually very hard for me. I would go on dates and I would choose the most sexy outfit, the most curve-hugging outfit, and instead of me covering myself, there is something about us covering ourselves that just brings out a certain element of godliness. And it also reminds me of this thing that Pastor Jeremiah Davis likes to talk about, as to how the meat in the markets, if you notice, like pigs and whatnot, the beef that's exposed in the markets, you will see that when you go to such places, even the fish, there's a lot of flies hovering all over the meat that's been exposed. And it's the same for us women. When we expose our bodies, the only thing we'll attract is things that are not good for us, men that are not good for us. We will attract the wrong people in our lives. And it is so important, not just for the sake of the men, but for our sakes, to cover up. It is also a protection for us, a covering for us. And the most important thing that stands above all these principles is the fact that dress is also something that God very much considers. If you remember, God is the one who chose the attire that those that were serving him in his sanctuary should wear. From what the high priest had on his head, to the robe, to the thing on the feet, the whatever he wore on the feet, it's God who chose the pattern of the robe that the priest wore. God chose it. Just it's the same as today, us who serve God. He is interested in the things we wear when we're serving him. He wants us to also, our dress to be a representation of something. We cannot put dress aside from Christianity and say the world will see what is in my heart, or what is in my heart is the only thing that matters. God cares about it because you are representing him. We are representing him, and it is such a challenge because it is something that we cannot be careless about. Every day when we wake up, when we want to dress up, we should ask ourselves, what am I dressing for? Why am I choosing to wear this?
Please subscribe to our channel, Given to Give Ministries. Please leave a like, and we'll see you next later. Bye.